The universal theme that I noticed within For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough was that black women experience all kinds of adversity in their everyday lives, but they are still able to persevere with unity and connection, with courage and self actualization. To represent the theme throughout the text, Shange uses three devices to further help illustrate the universal theme. Two of the three devices that I chose were repetition and visual imagery. Repetition can be noticed within many of the choral poems. For example, in the ones I used, which were positive and sorry. Repetition is used to emphasize these women's struggles, but more importantly, to emphasize their strength and empowerment through their struggles. Furthermore, visual imagery used as the next device allows the representation of these women. Visual imagery allows us to imagine and feel what these women feel, as well as truly see the love that women carry amongst themselves. Shange emphasizes with imagery that it is okay to crave the same things men want and care less about what people say. These two devices further help explain the universal theme within the book. Lastly, the third device that I chose was rhythm. Rhythm is very important when defining and describing a woman, because really, what is a colored woman without rhythm? The rhythm can be noticed throughout all the choral poems, and it represents the courage, passion, and self-actualization of these women. Even in bad situations, the rhythm is always there, and it illustrates the strength of these women to look past their pain and accept and love themselves. Overall, these three devices help point out the theme that I have chosen of this text, which is to persevere and always find your true self.
The theme that I found from reading the text is the want of acceptance or acknowledgement that can be seen in the characters and the plot. The characters that Shange created tied in really well with the theme, for the fact that she makes each one in their personal struggles really diverse, yet at the same time adds transparency to them by not giving them a name. Instead, by giving each a shade of the rainbow for a name, she makes it known that the story wasn't meant for a specific kind of woman of color, but for all women of color, which also creates a connection between each character because although their problems are very different, they all face the challenge of wanting to be accepted or acknowledged. In addition to that, she, in the beginning of the poem, Dark Phrases, has each woman state their locations to let readers know that these issues can occur anywhere. What I found interesting about the plot is that even when a woman is being empowered in her story, she still faces pressures of not being accepted or even acknowledged. Such as with the lady in yellow who wants to lose her virginity. She's happy about it, but at the same time, she feels as though she's different because of her virginity. She even says that she was the only virgin in the crowd. Another example is the lady in orange not wanting any more assistance from the man who called to see her at 3 a.m. on a weekday. Yet this is after she states leaving 7 packages, 40 poems, 2 plants, and 3 handmade cards. She finally realizes that he barely acknowledged her for her existence. Another example can be seen with the lady in blue with her chapter, The Abortion Cycle 1, where she describes in horrific detail the experience of having an abortion, which she seems the most upset about is that she's going through the experience alone because she was too ashamed to tell anyone. She couldn't have people looking at her pregnant or couldn't have her friends see this, so she bears it alone because of the fear of being socially rejected. Shange connects the beginning idea of her poem with the ending in a way that adds to the theme of acceptance and acknowledgement. In Dark Phases, the lady in brown, most likely speaking in third person, says that she's half note scattered without rhythm, no tune, meaning that this woman is empty or lost or incomplete. Then, as seen in the conclusion, it draws on this when a few of the women say, I was missing something, something so important, something promised, which can referring to the lack of acceptance or acknowledgement these women have had in their lives. However, as to say whether or not this need or want was accomplished internally or whether the women gave each other the acceptance or acknowledgement is completely ambiguous. One could argue that it was a self acceptance due to the fact that these women internalized most of the emotions with their struggles, while another interpretation can be that they found it in each other, because, as stated, being a woman of color is a metaphysical experience, one that may only be understood by another woman of color. Either way, these women gaining acceptance or acknowledgement is still seen here.
The theme that I decided to use for my literary analysis, it just focuses more on how the many difficult moments that Black women face through their daily lives, and how at the end of their whole struggles, they still manage to find self-love within themselves and find unity with other Black women who experience similar situations like they do. The theme that I chose says, through the use of several literary devices, Chandra presents many difficult moments that Black women face and still manage to find self-love within themselves. One type of literary device that the author uses throughout the text is repetition. Repetition is used to illustrate self-actualization from different difficulties Black women experience. For example, in Somebody Almost Walked Off with All of My Stuff, the writer repeats somebody almost walked off with all of my stuff about 6 times, giving it the emphasis on how these women felt about themselves once they found love and once they found who they truly were inside. They found the woman that they have always been but just never knew she was there. Another way is that it's also utilized to present self-love that these women have for themselves. For instance, in No More Love Poems number 4, the writer repeats, my love is too, about 6 times as well, giving also the emphasis on how these women found out in themselves that they are worth so much and that they should love themselves more before anyone else, and that it's just they have to know the value that they have and the value of their love, and that they shouldn't just give it away to someone they think is right. Like, they found to be that the love of themselves is more valuable than anything else. Another example is in A Laying On of Hands. The writer repeats, I was missing something 3 times. This was repeated because it also gives the emphasis on how throughout the many difficult times and the difficult moments that these women went through in their lives, they finally start thinking and gathering themselves together, meaning that they found and they found the truly woman that they are inside. And the thing that they were missing that they came to figure out was their love. They were missing the love that they should feel for themselves before anything else. Another literary device that the writer uses in her text is the use of similes. Similes are used to describe the different difficult moments these women went through by comparing their reality with something sweet. For example, in I'm a Poet Who, the comparison is made between a mango and a woman's body. The author writes, our whole body wrapped like a ripe mango. This gives it the emphasis on how the body of a woman is as sweet as a mango, well, actually, as a ripe mango, meaning that it's so hard for them to even find to be wanted by other people, for example, men. Another example is in abortion, the comparison is made between the bones of an unborn fetus with a soft ice cream cone. Sanjay writes, Get off of me, all of this blood. Bones shatter like soft ice cream cones. This gives it a very deep meaning by comparing these two things because ice cream cones are something sweet and something good, but then she is being compared to the unborn fetus, the bones of the unborn fetus, while she is doing abortion. Abortion is one of the difficult moments that one of these women went through, and at the end of the day, she found unity with other women who actually can relate to her, and they just became united and felt and just talked about and realized how much love they have for themselves. Lastly, another literary device that Chandra uses in her text is imagery. Imagery plays a big role in this text because it gives us the picture as we read her work. For example, imagery is used to illustrate a picture in the reader's mind as he or she reads to show how harsh some moments in these Black women's lives are. And then, as for instance, in The Night with Beau Willie Brown, the writer writes, I stood by Beau in the window, with Naomi reaching for me and Kwame screaming, Mommy, Mommy, from the fifth story, but I could only whisper, and he dropped them. This automatically, as it's being read, the writer makes it seem like puts words in there to make it easier for the reader to understand what's actually going on in the scene. The use of imagery emphasizes the actions and the feelings, and either despite the loss of her children, as this woman explains, she ends up finding unity and love within herself, even through the drastic loss that she had from her children.